These games make up what I believe is the greatest games lineup in Xbox history. Nintendo itself is being transformed. Proud to announce that Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming first to PlayStation 4.
Welcome to SCNS Live, powered by Cinelinx.com.
Are you just on script now?
Oh,
like mental, like
that's exactly what it is.
It's in your genetic.
Welcome to the recap, powered by Cinelinx.com.
Yeah.
And here are the biggest news stories that had the community buzzing this week.
Okay. Well,
I haven't done it in a while, actually. Jordan's probably just like, the fuck, Matt?
Yeah. It's true, you really haven't.
No, I live in Egypt now, so I'm not able to.
Well, the whole, like, you just got married thing, too.
Yeah, I did get married.
So,
that's what this little band is across my finger on my left hand.
It's completely, like, attached.
Super heavy.
Super glued.
Well, it's because she put a tracker on it. So, like,
yeah.
anytime I take it off, like, she knows, and it sets off an alarm.
Well, I guess we should probably talk about E3.
I would really like to talk more about this tracker planted on my ring. But yes, no,
yeah.
We should talk about it.
Does anybody know how to remove it? So we are very, very tired, very worn out, but okay, I'm not tired.
I took a coffee frappuccino. I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
And I had a protein bar that had zero taste.
Oh god,
at
they're
all.
Just terrible.
That's the worst. You have terrible taste in protein
bars. No, I had to get it before I left.
You bought like 14 of them.
No, correction. My mom bought me 14 of them, which
Don't
is like.
blame this on your mother. She is a wonderful woman.
She is a wonderful woman, and actually, she does listen. Well, guys, we have been really busy for the last couple days.
Yes,
but this is actually the very first day of E3 for, as far as most people are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
We attended a few of the press conferences, and we watched all the other ones.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
and we've been able to play some stuff already, so it should be a very interesting show as long as we can not die.
No, I don't know why we would die, except for the explosions that are happening at the
course.
Airbnb nearby.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like some sort of like fireworks show that we're missing, or if just there's like frag grenades being thrown. I'm pretty sure Titanfall 2 is literally happening behind the Airbnb.
Yeah, it's always amazing where we're staying. I'm really enjoying it.
It's a wonderful place, and it's way better than we were at last year.
Yeah, we
had zero internet availability, and we lived in a hostel basically.
Yeah. So this is. We always seem to have adventures wherever we stay, but this has been really nice so far. It feels like we're kind of staying in a home.
Well, yeah, and we are, and it's called the LA Happy Place.
Yeah.
It's very nice, and Rich has been nothing but wonderful.
Definitely check it out, guys, if you're ever in the LA area.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll start off with Bethesda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
that was the one. Well, the first press conference we went to, not the first one of Sunday, but it's the first one we went to.
And it started off things really good for us.
Yeah. Well, it was set in the LA hangar, which was a very strange location for it. Not necessarily for the events, but the placement of the venue. Because it looked like it was behind a residential area.
It did the entire time. Well, later on in the night, Blink 182 started playing.
Yes.
And the entire time, in my mind, I kept thinking about that community that's just right there.
Oh, yeah.
They're like families and stuff. And so they're just like great.
I wanted somebody to come up and just I wanted like a mob of people to come up to the gates and just be like, they gotta turn that shit down.
Yeah, it was very loud. But and they said that the actual hangar that we had the press conference in was the largest.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that before, but they touted that as being like one of the largest places.
It didn't feel that big.
It didn't, no, and I completely agree. It felt like it was a lot smaller, like it was more of an intimate
especially after
place.
we took a look at where they did EA's. Like, it was huge.
Yeah, it was quite big, but then, I mean, consider last year. where they did it at the Kodak Theater.
Yeah.
And that's a giant place.
Well, that's where they hosted. I don't think they do anymore, the Academy Awards.
Yeah, I think they still do that there.
Yeah,
I want to say they do. And then at the same time, I mean, look at what Sony did. You know, they did it at the Shrine Auditorium. So I don't know exactly. Maybe that's just where they're talking about, like, that's where they do big reveals. Like, it's the second biggest place to do big reveals.
Right there,
like
in that neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Strangest place.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was an amazing experience. And I think it was probably, I would probably say the second best stage of all of the press conferences that we saw.
Without a doubt.
And it was amazing. You know, we walked in there, and if you haven't seen it, or, you know, you haven't had a chance to look it up on YouTube, first of all, do it. Go through Cinelinks and do it. But, you know, second of all, just it was awesome because we walked in, and there was a giant set of risers that probably fit about 2,000 people on there.
Yeah.
And in front of the risers was a stage that had a black bottom, but it had a screen that arched all the way up to the top,
that
and
was
then
nice.
a back screen at the back. And you're right, it was nice because it was every single game that they showed, the arch was showing something like some sort of detail about the game, some descriptor about it that it was cool to notice, while the back of it was showing the actual title of it.
Yeah. The projection on that was pristine clear.
It was beautiful.
It was amazing.
But it was kind of funny too because, like, you know, you have the ADD experience as most gamers do. So instead of looking at the giant title behind in the back screen, you're looking in like the corners of the arches because there's like little tiny symbols and stuff moving around. There's the Quake logo.
There's
whenever they did Elder Scrolls Online, you looked over to the left or the right, and you just saw the symbol just spinning constantly, and it was so, like, it was entrancing.
I think one of my favorite was the Fallout, when they announced the Fallout VR.
Yes,
and it looked just like that.
The rocket, the Red Rocket gas station.
So, but let's get into the game real quick.
Yes,
first was Quake Champions,
which surprised a lot of people because I think nobody expected that. I think everybody expected just Skyrim, but that one kind of shocked everybody.
It's been a long time since I played a Quake, but I'm excited because, I mean, Doom was good.
Yes.
Castle Wolfenstein and pretty much everything that they've kind of Fallout that they've kind of revived into this current generation has been really good. So I'm really excited. I know they specifically said this is not a MOBA. Like, I've heard that several sources now. It's like, this is not a MOBA. Kind of just like that, by the way.
Did they?
Yeah, it's crazy. But I'm excited to play it. We didn't really see a ton, other than there's supposed to be a ton of different classes.
Yes, and we did see, you know, more of like a cinematic trailer for it. I mean, that's really all it was. But it was a cool introduction to, you know, the game as a whole.
The next thing is Skyrim is coming to the PS4 and Xbox One. We knew it. Everything we've heard, which I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's awesome because, like, what they did was they showed the comparison between, like, the older version that we're all used to and the next gen version, and it's night and day. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And also, if you have the PC version, you get the update for free.
It's awesome. That's even better.
So, Elder Scrolls Legends, you played? I played it, but I'm terrible at card games.
Yeah,
but you played it.
It was fun, you know, and it kind of was a mixture between Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering,
right?
And I thought that was really cool because I'm a big, well, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh all the time, but you know, it's kind of cool because the whole object of the game is to deplete your opponent's life points, much like Yu-Gi-Oh would. Except, unlike Yu-Gi-Oh, you can attack your opponent directly. But then, if you do that and you bypass all the monsters, then you're pretty much leaving your own monsters open to being attacked. So there's a lot of strategy involved with it, and it was pretty cool. I actually won my first game, so that was a lot of fun.
It's gonna be on pretty much everything mobile.
Yes.
I did talk to a Bethesda guy. I don't think I mentioned this to you, and I said, "Was there a possibility of consoles?" And he was like, "Pretty much, yeah."
Well, yeah,
So-
I could see that. I mean, even whenever we were playing it, we played it on the PC, and it looks like it could be a console game, like something that they would release for free, or if not for free, then like maybe $3. Just nothing that's going to be like too crazy.
Yeah, and Bethesda VR, we waited in line for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah, because they had like that
And-
reception after the show.
I mean, it was nice to have food and everything, but we waited for 2.5 hours. It just didn't happen, and we'll probably get to play the Quake. It looks like.
Hopefully,
I would love to play it here, but
we'll see. I
We'll
mean,
see.
it looks like the lines are going to be pretty long, but you know, the way we did it today was we had one thing and one thing only to focus on. So
right.
perhaps, you know, the next few days we'll be able to hit something like that, but yeah, we'll see.
So they had it and Doom.
Yeah, Fallout 4 and Doom.
So
And that was pretty cool because I mean, that's kind of revolutionary as far as VR is concerned at this point. You take a game as massive as Fallout 4
yeah.
and you try to put it in a VR system. That's insane. And then you do the same thing with Doom, and now you have like a mega multiplayer game, or even just not even that, but the campaign Doom on VR is phenomenal.
From what I was told, the Doom is pretty much Doom, like it's the game itself. They didn't change much, but the Fallout one actually had it was specifically made that little area for the VR experience.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll get to play it, but if we don't, we'll play it at some point. But it looks amazing so far.
It does.
They also announced Fallout DLC, some more.
Yeah, the first one that they announced, which is going to be available next week, is just some new tech and innovation stuff. Like you can have an elevator, a conveyor belt, that sort of thing.
I love that stuff.
It's cool. And then the second one that they announced was Vault. You can build your own vault, and it becomes like Fallout Shelter.
And I believe that's like August or something like
No,
that.
that's July.
Is it July?
Because what Bethesda's trying to do is they're trying to release a new DLC every single month.
Oh, for summer?
Yeah. Well, not just for summer. They're trying to do it for the whole year.
Oh, wow.
Because if you look at earlier in the year, they had their first DLC in March.
Right.
Then in April, they had their next one.
Yeah.
And then in May, they had Far Harbor. So then in June, it's this new tech. And then next month is going to be the Vault Tech stuff.
Right.
And then in August is Nuka Land.
Which is amazing looking.
Yeah, or Nuka World, something like that. But yeah,
So,
it looks really fun.
The being able to build that giant space or mess with that giant space is amazing. I love building in Fallout.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the game in general, but the building was something I played at age.
I was terrible.
Really?
Because I was more of like, I got to run around and do these missions so I can get better like stuff. And then all of a sudden I get a message that's like, you're a settlement under attack. And I'm like, well, I guess they're on their own.
My settlement, especially the main settlement that I had at first, was like nothing could get past. Sometimes even the traders, like it was just too much.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was done, because I was like, I've got to go and like kill so many things so I can get freaking Scotch tape so I can make a turret, because that makes sense. But it was still whatever. I've got to do it.
Well, Jason the X, he and his wife are mega Fallout nerds, and he had a long stretch of time where he had pretty much all the time in the world in his hands. So he played a lot of Fallout, and when he did that, he found a way to make so much money in that game.
Oh yeah,
and all he did was purify water and sell it. That's all he ever did. And he ended up like never worrying about anything ever again in that game. And I'm like, so you essentially beat the game. Like, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had something kind of similar, and I kind of like the idea. Like, I didn't have to worry about money, and it was just like, I'm going to go buy stuff, and I'm going to build stuff.
Yeah.
So it. I still haven't played the Fall Harbor yet.
Far Harbor,
but I've heard it's the biggest they've ever done. So
yeah, it's the biggest DLC that they've ever had as far as an environment,
which is crazy because some of their DLC's been huge.
Yes.
So, but that's pretty much Bethesda.
I didn't know Maine was actually that big or big enough to do that.
Yeah,
but,
that's,
apparently
that's actually true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
The next one actually took place before was EA.
Yes, but we weren't at EA.
No,
we
weren't EA.
We had a chance to check out all the EA games the very next day, which is why it's in this order.
We've tried. No, we didn't try very hard.
You know, actually, there was a couple other games that you forgot to mention for Bethesda. The reboot for Prey.
For Prey.
And then
Discord.
Discord, yeah.
Yeah.
According to Blink-182, who said that looked like the best game ever.
Yeah.
Discord.
And then
Galaga. Realized that it was Dishonored.
Yeah.
Super sad. But no, Dishonored 2, that actually was the game that was the biggest game that Bethesda was going to show at E3. And it had a lot of really cool nuances, and they showed a ton of gameplay, a ton of footage, and a ton of content for it. And what's even cooler is that if you haven't played the first Dishonored, but you're excited about Dishonored 2, you can pre-order the game and get Dishonored 1 for free.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've discussed it before on the show. I've had some issues. I had a little bit of issues, but it wasn't a big gripe. It was just a little bit of thing where I would have liked a little bit of a reward system for using the more powerful stuff. Yeah. But other than that, it was a great game, and this one looked beautiful. 2, I love the mechanics of this particular, where you can play between the main character from the first one and his daughter in this one.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the dynamic in the story too between the two.
Oh yeah, and I love the new environment that they're in.
Yeah.
They said that it's going to start in the kingdom, I can't remember the name of it right now, but the kingdom of the first one. And then it's going to go on into this new area that's very it's Mediterranean themed. And then it's going to end back at that kingdom again.
Yeah, I love the theme on that. The Mediterranean, the whites and the blues.
Yes,
and all that kind of
it's
stuff.
Beautiful. It's gorgeous.
It's absolutely. And then that's about it with Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda's done now.
We're done now. EA, yeah, their press conference wasn't great.
Oh man, we've made so many jokes about it. Like that's been the common theme around the Cinelinx campus. Is that, EA or nobody does it better than EA, and it's more of a tongue-in-cheek that EA
which
is
really sad. I mean, and I've discussed this with you probably now multiple times, but they really neutered. It just felt like it was neutered. Everything they presented just felt like it was just, the message was just cut.
Yeah,
and there was no completion to it, and it was just driving all of us crazy.
Well, I attributed it to the fact that I think that the reason why they were a little neutered is because it seemed like the bigger companies took from them. So Sony, which we'll talk about later, they had an EA title, and then you had over on Microsoft, they had Battlefield 1. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how much really can you show at your own press conference? It's
sad. Well,
and even the audience wasn't into it.
Oh,
you could tell.
There's multiple audiences during this year so far that I've had that we've seen that just seem not into it.
They weren't, and I think it's attributed to the fact that they have been very selective about their audience members, and if you notice, all the ones that were very dull were the ones that we were not at.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that maybe they need to maybe infuse a little Matt and Eric, and maybe they'll have a much better press conference.
Maybe.
I'm just
definitely.
saying.
So, yeah, it's because and we'll get to it later. The one that the couple that were there were the best ones.
Yeah, the two that we were at were the all-around, hands down, best ones. Although Ubi does give a run for its money.
I will admit Ubi was, but we should have been there.
We should have been there.
Yeah.
We were on the waiting list.
Now, stuff. We're not going to go through every game, and we're especially from now on with the press conferences that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
We're just going to kind of hit the ones that we were interested in.
Yeah.
The first one was Titanfall 2. We did play it.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun.
I
actually played it again today.
Did you?
And I learned the Titan. We couldn't remember one of the Titans' name. It was Scorch.
Scorch,
it was
which makes sense because he's fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, they had Ion.
Right.
The 2 new Titans out of 6 new Titans that they've released for Titanfall 2. But, I played with a couple more, and I feel the exact same way. Like, I hadn't played with one of the characters, one of the loadouts. And after playing it, and this time, I feel the exact same way that my opinion before, that this is a very balanced game.
Right.
That, every single loadout has its advantages, and none of them feel like they're bringing the team down.
Right.
So I was very impressed by that. And then even the mechs, the Titans, they are powerful. They're fun to play with, and it's like I was playing today, and we pretty much controlled the map because 3 of us had a Titan at one point, and so we grouped up on like all the other ones.
If that seemed to be the thing that changed the tide when we were playing, was when the other team got the Titan, because the second game we played, we were way ahead, way ahead.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like,
3 Titans showed up, and then all of a sudden we died.
Yeah, which is good and bad, but it was definitely fun.
It was, but I think that's very different to how it was last time.
It's a lot
because in Titanfall 1, you could summon a Titan, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it changes the entire game.
No.
Like, I remember so many times, like, whenever I would hop into the Titan, it doesn't matter, whatever, I'm just going to get blown up in about 2 minutes. So, in this one, in Titanfall 2, it seems like they've taken all of those feedback from the fans and created a much more complete game. And you can even tell because they've added a story mode.
Yep.
So,
and which we haven't seen, but
we saw the trailer.
That's
about it.
And I'm sure we'll see something soon.
Yeah.
The stuff I like too on the pilot side of things, the grappling hook for one of the players.
That was cool. That was the rifleman, the front rifleman or something like that.
I used it several times to basically get out of the way of a Titan, where I would shoot the grappling hook into a doorway, go through, and there was one time I did it right through a building almost, and it was a lot of fun.
I think my one complaint with it though is it's too slow.
The grappling hook?
The grappling hook.
Yeah, it is.
Like, on the trailers and all the other stuff that they've shown, it's much faster.
Yeah.
But whenever you're playing on it, and maybe it's just because it's an alpha, it feels like it's just like, you lock onto something and then it just slowly kind of pulls you up.
Yeah, and I was telling you earlier, I could really feel the Respawn, the developers who they originally did the Modern Warfare games.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel that DNA all throughout the game.
Yeah, I could see that.
But that's not a bad thing.
Not at all. No.
And the next game we played was Battlefield 1.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. You were mixed.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But that's all attributed to the fact that, like, I've played Battlefield before, not as much as you have, though. And so I'm not really a big Battlefield fan. I mean, I've played them and they're fine. But, I think my main problem with it were the clunkiness of the vehicles. I loved everything else about it. How the environment could be destroyed and how the environment changed. I love that about the weather.
With rain and with fog and all that kind of stuff. I was thinking about what you were saying about the clunky vehicles earlier, and I think some of it will be tuning.
Yes.
And some of it is attributed to the time period.
Yeah.
I liked I was running around one time and I saw a cannon, and it looked like almost something that would be in the Civil War. I don't know if it was some kind of shell armament thing, and I kind of just stopped. It was looking at it, and then I got killed. Of course,
you
never
did.
stopped.
Yeah, that was stupid.
And but like the side cannons on the tanks, that was a completely different feeling for me.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. Of course, the airship.
Yes, the airship was awesome. The Zeppelin that they had.
It was really funny to see all of the marksmen on top of the Zeppelin taking pot shots at people. They were just standing on top. And
yeah.
It's funny to see a game where, you know, they might not have even intended for that to be something, but the players figure something out. And then next thing you know, they're all standing on top of the airship, just like pot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you definitely, and this is more to the audience, you guys have to check out the article I wrote recapping day 1 and 2 of E3, because I recap day 2 and I talk about my experience playing Battlefield 1, and just a little bit of a sample. There's one part where I'm in the airship and I decide to be the pilot, and you have this giant wheel.
Right.
And so you get to steer it to wherever you want to take the Zeppelin to. I call it Zeppelin because, let's be honest, it's what it is. And at one point, I stopped, I'm holding the wheel, and I'm directing it one place. And I did mutter to myself, like, as planes were coming by, like enemy planes were flying towards me, I muttered to myself, good, our first catch of the day.
One, I can't wait to see, because unlike Hardline or some of the earlier games, the environment is basically shacks and stuff like that, and I can't wait to see some of the YouTube stuff of just crazy stuff that's happened with the destructible environments.
Yeah,
like there was one. It kind of reminded me of the a scene in a movie where like they're trying to break out of jail and the spotlight hits them.
Yes,
and they just stop. I blew a hole inside of a wall. Exactly. Yeah. I blew a hole inside the wall, and it was 2 medics, and they just stopped and looked at me. Like,
yeah.
Oh God, this is it. This is how it ends. And that's the stuff I love about Battlefield, is just these random occurrences that just seem to transpire every time I play it.
Yeah.
So
I love it though, because like you're a big medic fan.
I love it.
And I attribute it to the fact that you secretly want to be Bones from Star Trek.
I do.
And so you could just yell or run around and be like, damn it, I'm a doctor, not a bone guy.
Not a bone guy.
I'm tired.
Yeah, we're very tired. The
not a marksman.
The bolt rifle for the medic was actually very awesome.
Cool.
Like usually medic, it depends. Off and on, they'll get really good weapons in this one. So far, it seems like pretty good. So,
yeah.
Let's move on to
but before we move on, I mean, we got to talk about these swanky dog tags we got with
World War I style, the round dog tags.
Yeah.
With our gamer tags, essentially.
Yeah, it said EA Play and Battlefield 1, and then we got to put whatever we wanted underneath it. And they had said the gamer tags, but my gamer tag isn't move the joystick. It's just where all my socials are, is move the joystick. But I also was able to put Cinelinks underneath it, and it actually looks pretty damn sweet.
It does look sweet. I wish I'd gotten Cinelinks at the bottom of mine, because you talked them into it.
Yeah, I did. And they were like, I loved the guy I was working with. This guy was awesome. He looks at me whenever he's like, so man, let me ask you, what you want for your gamer tag? And I said, let's go with move the joystick. And he goes, you said move the joystick? I said, yeah. So he starts typing, and he goes, that's a cool name, bro. And I'm like, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And so he's like, you want to come check it out? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I go over and look at it, and it looks perfect. And I go, hey, wait, underneath that, could you add Cinelinks? He goes, Cinelinks? I said, yeah. He goes, spell that. And so like I spell it for him.
He's almost like he's Prince.
It's hilarious. It's awesome. He was awesome. I love this guy. And he goes, you know that's going to make your font smaller. And I'm like, that's fine. It's all good.
The first time I've heard that in my life.
Yeah, right. I was like, it's no big deal. And so then he as soon as he like inputs that, he tries to con me a little bit. He's like, man, you know these machines are from World War One, right? And it's a machine that like makes dog tags, and it looks like it
Looks
looks
like
like
something that was made like maybe max 10 years ago.
yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, really? He goes, nah, man, I'm just screwing with you. I'm like, I love this guy so much.
Definitely one of the better things we saw.
Yes.
Yes.
And then he goes, so man, I'm super jealous. I wish I could play Battlefield 1. And I'm like, well, you're working here. Why don't you? Nah, man, I don't think I can. I don't think they'll let me. I was like, you get a lunch break, right? He goes, I do. I was like, why don't you just hop in there during your lunch break? Well, how long's the line? I was like, well, it wasn't bad when I was in there.
And you work here.
Yeah, you work here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Love that guy. I wish I remembered his name.
Now, the most story-driven thing we saw while we were there, and we talked about during the the EA press conference, was without a doubt FIFA 17,
which was not something that would ever be uttered ever in the course of video game history.
It's just like it pulled at the heartstrings. It was a coming of age story,
and it actually was. You know, it was cool. You didn't get a chance to play
I didn't,
it,
and I really actually wanted to.
I did, and so the story follows a young and up and coming rookie football player named Alex Hunter, who joins the Manchester United club with his best friend, and together they're trying to like kind of outdo each other and ultimately become like the superstar of Manchester United. And it's very interesting to watch the dynamic of every cinematic, but what's even cooler is the fact that you decide what happens. So whenever you get put into the game, if you score a goal, great. That's awesome. That's even better for Alex Hunter. But if you kick a bad shot, or if you make a bad shot, that's points against you. Or if you make a bad tackle, that's points against you.
Sounds like an RPG.
If the ball gets stolen from you, that's points against you. Like all these different things, and you're constantly being judged. But the other problem is that you are locked in on Hunter. So you can't even use every single one of your teammates to get you the ball. Instead, you have to constantly put yourself in positions so that way whoever has the ball will give the ball to you.
Now, you play a lot of sports games.
I do.
And so do you think this is going to matter? Like, do you think this is actually going to matter to the Joe Blow, I play FIFA every year?
I do to an extent. Mm-hmm. I do because of the fact that it is a new challenge. It is a story mode, and most of the FIFA community is going to at least attempt it. But at the same time, a lot of them are going to be all about, what they do with the tournament play and everything else that they do. But the reason why I think it's not for some is because it's Manchester United. So, a lot of the fan base, like I'm a Manchester City fan. Yeah. So seeing it as Manchester United, it kind of annoys me a little bit because I would wish that it would be for every club. Like that Alex Hunter would join this club or you join this club, but instead it's Man United.
So do you think Manchester paid?
Probably. Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. I mean, United's got the money to pay for it.
I mean, I even know Manchester United.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there is one thing I did want to talk about, though, is that the Frostbite engine that they're using on it makes the game just look amazing.
Now, I did get to play the actual regular game, and it does look really nice.
Oh, it's incredible.
The fluidity of the plays and all that's really nice.
Yes.
Like, you can kind of stand back and go, okay, this almost looks real. It didn't quite hit that uncanny valley like too real, but it's pretty close.
Oh, it's gorgeous, and it also helps with facial structure as well. Like it's really well done the way they did it, and you can even tell during the story mode with Alex Hunter because you get to answer questions. So it's kind of like that BioWare thing where you choose what you say, and it's the same thing with him. And so you see all the facial expressions every single time he says something. But man, like I really want to progress that storyline because every single thing that I ever saw from him so far was always just kind of like this sullen, like, "Hey man, go score 3 goals. And then like the guy like ignores him and he's just like, oh. And then like, in mine, I tied the game and like I'm in a post game interview and they're like, so what does it feel like to not win the game? And he's just like, and for me, I put like just whatever the uplifting PR thing was, and he's just like, well, we can always improve. Oh, like it's just like it just felt like like he didn't say but that's like the face he had.
It has a dialogue tree then.
Yeah, it has a dialogue tree.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like I might actually play FIFA this year.
Right?
The next game, we played a little bit of Madden, and
oh yeah, I got a ton to talk about.
Okay, so I'll let you talk about Madden.
You want me to get on my soapbox for a minute?
Get on your soapbox right
All right, so not a bad soapbox, it's a good soapbox. So
wait, there's different soapboxes?
Very different ones, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Can you get those at Costco?
Like different soaps.
Yeah, that's cool.
This one's more of the Dove.
The Dove soapbox.
Nice. It's quite nice. Soothes the skin. So in Madden NFL 17, I noticed a lot of different nuances and game changes, and one of the coolest things is the way they've upgraded and updated connected franchises. So one of the things that I noticed was that in previous seasons of Madden, you had just a normal template to create a coach. So you had like one of 4 different faces to choose from, like whatever. It wasn't much to customize. Right. Now they've changed that. They've given us like a whole new cast of characters to choose from. Like I think it's like maybe like 8 or 9 different faces, like 5 different ethnicities, 6 different body types, and then the apparel that these guys can wear is just it's constantly changing. So like you could wear like a polo or whatever you wanted to, or you can wear a hoodie and look like you're just one of the guys in the back. Like it's really cool the way they did that. A lot of the other things that they've done too is that the coaches kind of have a little bit more personality in the game, and the game itself, catching's a little bit better. And all the overall bugs that we were dealing with in 16
I did
have
notice
been
the catching
fixed.
did seem better. I mean, the little I've played, because I played 16.
Yeah.
And it does seem better.
It is. And then, I mean, unless your player doesn't have very good catching skills, like Will frickin' Fuller, who I will fix it. I will fix it whenever I start my connected franchise. I will fix you, Will. Don't worry about it. We'll get you on the jugs. But then the other thing, too, was that they added new different things for your game prep. So on a weekly basis, Madden will help you by telling you, hey, so the Bears, they run a zone blitz 39% of the time. So then your objective for that week will be to try out different offensive plays that will not only give your players experience, but will also help you combat the zone blitz. And so that alone is really cool. And then you can also do focus experience. So it focuses on like three specific players.
Yeah.
Like, so whenever you draft rookies, you can always put them in there and then they'll gain more experience than the others.
All I'm sensing from EA Sports stuff right now is a lot of role-playing games. Is BioWare making...
Shoot, at this point, they must be. That's why they haven't come out with Mass Effect Andromeda.
Speaking of which...
Yeah. It's the saddest thing whenever FIFA 17 has more story than Mass Effect Andromeda.
When we watched that trailer, it's a good trailer for the most part, but it's just like, come on now. What are we, like, in the 5th year?
Yeah, it's very disappointing that we haven't gotten anything yet, especially since it was delayed till 2017, but it was delayed to early 2017. So by now you should be able to show us a little more than just your studio guys and then what they're conceiving and then showing us a little blip of gameplay. Like by now you should be able to show us an actual story.
It was without a doubt the same PR guys that had the idea for Battlefront.
Oh,
last year. It's like, okay, we'll show you. I did notice a little bit though when they were showing some footage later on with the Star Wars stuff.
Yes,
they did the same thing.
They did they did worse for that.
But I did see I didn't notice this till later on, and we'll talk about why. That one of the guys was wearing a Sony VR during the little segment.
Oh, I didn't
for just a second.
I think I actually did notice that.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
just like it didn't even like connect till not the connect, but it didn't even connect in my head till later on. What we talk about later on.
Yeah.
As we go on.
Yes.
Please excuse this, guys. Star Wars. Speaking of Star Wars, they didn't really show anything.
They showed nothing.
Yeah.
They showed us the studios, and that was really annoying.
Yeah.
Like, really? You can't show us one damn thing? No. Instead, you have to show us, like, oh, look, there's look, they've got lightsabers. Look, we've added, like, a little, oh, look, there's an X-Wing in the distance. Like,
there will be X-Wings. There will
stupid.
be lightsabers.
It's moronic. You showed us your studio guys conceiving what they're going to do. But then what you added was money that you could have spent actually making the freaking game and giving us something.
Spend money on more people for development if you need to.
Yes.
Yeah, they showed a brief, like, one guy walking out of a house, essentially. That was for the Amy Hennig game.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see why. Like, it was just pointless. They should have just showed a still shot at that point.
It was beautiful what they did show. Whenever he walks out and you see, like, the Star Destroyer in the distance, like, it was cool. That was very awesome. Very well done. But then it's literally 5 seconds.
It was, without a doubt, EA's press conference was my least favorite this year.
Yes.
And which is sad because they had some games I really liked. It's just they didn't show it off right.
The conference, yes. The conference was poor, but the games themselves
EA
were
Play
well
was
done.
actually pretty well done as well.
I loved EA Play, and we
Yeah.
got a lot of information, a lot of swag, and just an overall great experience from it. And
Absolutely.
I hope they do it again, but just tweak the conference to be better.
And I still think they should do 2 conferences, sports and everything else. But yeah,
I disagree with that because I still think that they don't have enough to do that.
Let's move on. The next conference was Ubisoft, and it was Microsoft. We're just going to do a few things on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest ones to talk about. Yeah, they had a few games. Sure,
Gears of War.
Gears of War, which looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That little, like, chainsaw thing. That, shooting things out. Like,
it's funny though. We were watching it and we were like, "How do they load that thing?"
Yeah, like, I'm watching it and I'm like, what madman decided to make this? Like, what in a practical use of everyday use did you need a chainsaw that shoots out chainsaws?
It's for killing.
Like, not even lumber. It doesn't even work in lumber.
I love how it was just like, well, it's got to be cartridge based. Like, we were all just kind of getting into how this works. The gameplay looked nice. It looked like Gears. It did. It looked like Gears.
Although it looks like Marcus's son is actually a lot more personable than Marcus.
Yeah, absolutely. and I'm kind of hoping that, and it seems like there might be a little more. There was always story, but it was like,
yeah.
So it looks good. And
well, I mean, Gears of War, the first 3, the story was there.
Yeah,
and it was well done. I think Gears of War. I mean, actually, all of them progressively got better. But you gotta consider the fact that they're in a time of war and they're in a constant state of fight or flight. So to make a story about it is tough.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did with it is really well done in my book.
From what I enjoy the Gears games, but from what I've heard from several sources, that the original treatment, they were less beefy guys. They were strong and everything, but there was a lot more story about politics, about all this kind of stuff, and all that just basically got scrapped.
I can understand why.
I can, and it's still games that I really enjoy, and I've played the remastered one, and they've released the 360 ones on the PS4, maybe the Xbox One, and I've played a couple of them again, and they're still good games. So,
Yeah.
the next game that I'm pretty excited about, actually myself, is Scalebound.
Oh yeah, you've been excited about that.
It's the guys who brought you Devil May Cry and those kind of games, and I love the aesthetic of it, and I love dragons.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. You said the guys. No, those are the
artistes. The artistes.
The artistes that
Yes.
brought you them.
The artistes that brought me Devil May Cry. Scalebound looked awesome. They continued the trailer. I mean, not trailer. It was trailer and gameplay footage from Gamescom. They started straight where they left off, which was kind of interesting. I think it's the first time I've ever seen that. Where it was literally the moment that it left off, which is kind of cool. And they were showing off the multiplayer aspect of it, which just looks fun, and all the dragons look different, and all the people look different in your game. So it's definitely on my list of stuff that I want to play for the Xbox One. The next thing they showed was Sea of Thieves, which is Rare's pirate like friend game. That's the best way I can describe it.
And it really is. And I loved what they did or how they showed it, because they showed it off by showing like gameplay from other teams.
You're right.
So like real people who played the games and how fun they were having. Like if someone like tried to jump onto the boat and fall down to the ground, like you were giggling like a
I was like, I love pirate stuff.
It was hilarious. And then they were getting drunk. And
that was priceless.
Yeah.
And I know some people were turned off it, and I think deep down everybody wants them to do another typical Rare platformer or something.
I loved it. I thought the concept of it is really cool. I'm bummed that it's an Xbox One exclusive. That all of these are Xbox One exclusives.
Something that is maybe change your mind, at least at some point of getting an Xbox One. They showed off the Xbox S.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something that I would buy, but it's tough because after today, especially.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later. But yeah, it's definitely on my list of things that I need to get. But we'll continue.
The S, much smaller. This is the thing. Like it supports 4K, but it didn't specifically say if it's 4K video or 4K gameplay. I didn't hear that.
I think if they say it supports 4K, then it's probably generalized.
But they also announced the Scorpio.
Yes.
The codename Scorpio. And it is supposed to be another iteration on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
And it's the most powerful gaming console, at least by their
standards,
that has ever existed.
Yeah, it's they
but
advertised
it comes out a year from the date, pretty much, that the S comes out.
Yeah. Well, they advertised it as the developer's console.
And it also says and it's true, because I saw many of the developers, they had them parading up there. They're like, I love this. And I'm sure they are. But the 4K, going back to the 4K thing for a minute, they say with that, this one will display true 4K.
Yeah, that's interesting, because like what false 4K is going to be on the S?
I want false 4K.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think the way that they mean it is that the processing power of this is going to be so powerful that it's going to be,
takes a lot to process.
Yeah, well, they're probably saying like it is able to handle 4K and then some.
I wonder if it'll be
so. They might be talking about how it makes 4K better by its true 4K.
I wonder if it'll be similar to the early days of HD, where they would say it's 720, and 720 technically was HD.
Yeah, but then he came out with 1080.
So I wonder if it's similar to that.
Probably.
So,
I think that's actually a good similarity. I would say that too.
But I'm debating. I'm still debating, because it's a year. I need to see more about the 4K stuff.
Yeah.
The last two things that they showed was Halo Wars 2.
Yeah.
Which I like. If you want to see anything about it, go to Soundlinks. Not much to talk about it. they didn't really
It's
show
Halo Wars 2. I mean, they just showed a couple of like little, just a little cinematic trailer, and that was about it. Nothing really gameplay related.
And then they showed Recore.
Yeah, I was actually disappointed.
That's what the consensus that I'm kind of getting from people. Last year I was like, oh, it looks awesome, and this year it's like, oh, it's a platformer.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of people that didn't realize it was a platformer. I'm still curious because I love platformers, but I need to know that it's not same old platformer. The next one on the list is Ubisoft.
Yes,
I just made some weird thing with my hand.
Ubisoft.
Hey,
we're getting to the way too close to the Ubisoft.
They're not Swedish. Well, some of them are actually.
Some of them are, but they're mostly French.
Yes. So, Ghost Recon Wildlands. Okay, what they showed, the gameplay that they showed for it, I love the openness of it. I love the team, cooperation on it. At least
I like the voiceover too.
Yeah, that was all stuff I really liked, but I kind of felt like it's more even open Division a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm very worried about. I like Division, and you didn't like it as much, but I like Division.
I got bored with it.
But yeah, even I've gotten a little bit bored with Division.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see the long-term playability of this game. So it's beautiful, though.
It is. And I
like all these games.
I love the idea that you're essentially like the DEA in a way.
Yeah.
Or at least in the trailer that they showed. Like, that was actually a really cool mission. So if you're into that, you should definitely go check it out because that's a kind of a cool concept that they had.
Now, the next one was South Park, The Fractured Butthole.
Oh, man, I'm so pumped about this game.
Not only if you reserve it, do you get the original for free. Like, they
Stick of Truth,
but, like, right away, which is awesome.
It's so hilarious because they had Trey Parker and Matt Stone out there.
They were great.
They were wonderful. And then they showed a lot in terms of, the gameplay and how it starts off. And it's so funny because I honestly, going into it, I did not know much about the Fractured Butthole. And I realized...
It still makes me chuckle.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I realized that this is a mockery of, or a spoof of, all the Marvel and all the superheroes.
Fantastic.
I didn't know that. And so it was hilarious because they're talking about how this game is about a civil war.
Yeah.
And
it involves the DC, basically, side. The boys get upset and split up, and one set basically becomes the DC universe.
Kind of, yeah. Like, it's
Cartman even says, fuck off, DC.
Well, he says that. Well, Cartman says that because of the fact that he's like, oh, you guys just don't want to have a plan like DC? Like, go screw yourself, DC. And then, meanwhile, because he's going off of, like, the Marvel way of doing things. And it's hilarious.
It is really funny. Check out the gameplay. I don't know if that was specifically on Cinelinks. I don't know if we have that, but I would
probably do.
I would check that out.
Yeah.
The next game was the Bridge Crew VR, the Star Trek.
Yes.
I won't get much into it, but I'm kind of stoked about being in the captain's chair.
It's intriguing, but really, do you know 4 people?
No, not at
that
all.
are nearby that are willing to do that.
Not that have that budget.
Yes. So to me, like, that is my fatal flaw about that game.
I kind of want to invest in that equipment and charge people to play Star Trek in my house.
So that way you'd have somebody to play it. Yeah.
But
you would always be Kirk.
Always.
Always.
Sabia, I need the green women. So the next game is For Honor.
Yes. Oh, that was cool.
I don't know why I said it almost like a question. I like it. I want to play it.
Yeah.
Just some butt to it. I don't quite understand. Like, I didn't... They go, oh my god, I gotta play this.
I thought the graphics looked great.
Yeah, the graphics
because they showed the gameplay of it, and they showed you as a Viking, and you're going around fighting off against the samurai, and
which was awesome.
It was actually really cool, but I think the reason why is because there's nothing necessarily different
No,
about the game and nothing that's been explained. Like they just showed a world where the entire world basically collapsed upon itself and there's no explanation why.
but you still have these cultural things like samurai
Yes.
and
And for me,
Vikings.
like I didn't understand it. Like he's got this entire army and he's like this I can't remember her name, but the main antagonist.
Yeah.
They were like, she has reminded us of what we are. We are Vikings. We can pillage and ravage the
Right.
lands. And he's like, but we won't do it against the main antagonist. Now let's go attack the samurai and make an enemy. Like really?
And then he basically just he let his entire group die too.
Yes. The group
You
dies.
got me here.
Yeah, when essentially you could have just taken that group, maybe, unite for a common enemy,
Yeah.
and then go attack that girl. Really?
Yeah, I want to play it. But I'm not. I don't feel like the need to play it.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't it feel like they're really driving it home that they want you to play as the Viking?
a little bit.
It really feels like that's
Well,
what they're
even
doing.
the guy, the developer, he was almost like Verily. He was
Yes.
kind of into it there. The the last thing for Ubisoft was Watch Dogs.
Yeah, Watch Dogs 2 now gone. It's out of Chicago and it's taking place in San Francisco, and I love this concept. I've been watching gameplay on it, and it just looks gorgeous. And the new additions that they've added and the new team, it just seems like it's a lot more fun. The last one, it just seemed like it was such a drag.
There were fun moments.
There were fun moments.
The almost like the city is my toy kind
Yes.
of moments. But yeah, story wise, I didn't really ever care about the main character, and I thought the gameplay was fine.
Mhm.
It was Grand Theft Auto with more tech,
Yes.
and
And
that was
and
great.
essentially it's kind of the same thing now, but I gotta say, like I'm starting to like this character that they're giving us. Like he's a lot more personable.
I hope we see there was a mission in the first one that had to do with human trafficking.
Yes.
And I'm kind of hoping we see stuff that's has that much meat on it, like as far as story wise.
And it probably will. I mean, they tend to. I think they're trying to like hit home with how real this game is and how technology could essentially like ruin the world.
Well, we're gonna move on to Sony, which definitely was our favorite this year.
It was amazing. It really was.
Sony was amazing, and what was incredibly amazing was God of War.
Oh, the fact that they started it all off with Bear McCreary and his orchestra
That was amazing.
Playing music. It's the Detroit Philharmonic. Playing the amazing soundtrack to God of War, and then opening up the curtains to reveal not even a trailer. It wasn't a trailer. It was gameplay from the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
How amazing is that? And it raises more questions too, because it's not like it's oh well, we have a new variation of Kratos. No, this is Kratos in Vikings time, and it appears that this is the same one from God of War from the previous ones in the Greek mythology.
So many hints.
But for some reason, he's learned Zen.
yeah, he's like must calm. He kind of has the Hulk thing going on.
He does.
Yeah.
But I think it's the whole fatherhood thing. Like now he's teaching his son, and he has to be that moral compass for him.
And as we'll get back to the gameplay in just a second, but story, what we saw so far, there was a tenderness that you would have never seen from Kratos
Yes.
before. And I was like, and I'll fully admit I've kind of lost my love for the series because it's just repetitive.
It
That's
is
what it felt to me. And this storyline, this change in Kratos, that alone at first had me. Like, I like to see that, and in the whole, but you still haven't gotten the deer. Like,
No, I love that because
Yeah.
like you see his son messing up and the patience that he has with him.
it that had me, and then you have this really awesome gameplay. It still has that God of War feel.
It does,
That,
but it
visceral and
but it feels very more open.
Yeah.
Like it's like an open world style game now.
Right. Partially, I think, is the camera that definitely changes. The fact that the other games just kind of felt almost sometimes side scroller-ish.
Yes. Yes. Now it feels like you're more playing like a third person game.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of the environments, beautiful. The snow was amazing.
That was gorgeous.
The animals were very unique. Like the deer had the weird, like, almost fiber optic sort of like pulsating lights through the antlers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was really
and
good.
even the enemies too. The enemies were very interesting.
Yeah, I really liked the whatever the giant troll was.
The troll, yeah.
I definitely check out that trailer over at Cinelinks.com. It was amazing if you haven't seen it. The next one was Days Gone, which you described as Sons of Anarchy meets World War Z.
Yes, because you basically play as a biker in an apocalyptic world where everybody is, not everybody, but there's a zombie outbreak, and he's trying to do bikers justice in the middle of a zombie infested world.
Yeah, he was so focused in on that guy, and the trailer's like, oh yeah, there's freaking zombies everywhere,
and
he killed Gollum.
I know, that was pretty funny. But it was amazing watching the gameplay trailer that they had for it, because that was the last thing that they showed at Sony was this gameplay trailer, and it was awesome to watch.
Well, the sheer amount of whatever zombies or whatever you're going to call them, the sheer amount that was coming at him, and it was real time. You could tell that it was actual gameplay. Was phenomenal.
It really was. My one complaint though, too slow with climbing. Way too slow.
Well, I heard
that's something that they did.
I actually heard audible from you several times, like, "It's so close." Like, while it was, I don't even know if you.
That wasn't just me. That was my boys next to me. They were Hip Hop Gamer.
Well, the greatest thing for them though was without a doubt when Kojima came out on stage.
Yes,
they completely
everybody lost their mind.
Like, people were ripping off shirts.
Yeah,
it was like that scene in Airplane.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they were giving birth to babies. They were just setting things on fire.
So Kojima showed off
Death Stranding.
Yeah,
and a game with starring Norman Reedus.
We don't know anything other than it's some drug-fueled, like, oil man's dream or something. I don't know what it was, but it was amazing.
It has me hooked. I want to know more. I want to know everything about it. I want to know why it is that it looks like
the baby's handprints popping up on his thigh.
The baby's there, and then suddenly the baby's gone, and there's handprints.
I'm sure that was symbolism, but
there's prints all over him, like dust all over him, and it's so enthralling. And then, you see all the death and decay that's around, but above him are 5 beings just floating in the air, and 4 of them have their arms out, but one of them in the middle has its arms crossed, and it's just, why? What are they? What's going on? What is happening? And I want to know everything about this game. Like, I want to go talk to Kojima. I want to live with him while he makes this game so I can learn everything about it. It has me, like, entranced to know more.
Yeah, and that's Kojima. Like, that's, if you played the last Metal Gear, I don't know if you ever played it.
I've played it. I've played some of the Metal Gears.
But the last one that came out, the very first level, was the most mind trippy thing. And then of course PT that was gonna gonna be Silent Hills. If you ever played that, that was amazing. So I'm hoping for something just somewhere in between.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic. Now, but they finally gave a date for Last Guardian,
yes.
and the footage they showed was amazing. I still don't quite understand what they showed us.
No, but it looks like there's a dark version of that animal that's with you.
But we got a date.
We do.
But I think it was
October.
Yeah,
I think it was October 25th or 28th, something like
it was
that.
amazing.
Yeah,
Finally,
yeah.
and then Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, they finally showed us a little bit more about that.
God, that gameplay was amazing.
The gameplay. I mean, we could get into it, but just go see it for yourself. You got it. You have to witness
This is
it.
one of those things, though, where this year it was kind of hard. Even the bad press conferences, there was just amazing games. So
but then Detroit Become Human.
Okay, the name I know people.
I don't care about that.
Whatever. But the game I like the decision tree.
It's intriguing because of the fact that you control everything that happens in that game.
And the developer, people either love him or hate him as far as his games go. Everything from Beyond Two Souls to Heavy Rain. I love those games, and I'm really curious about this game. So
yeah, it's very interesting. But I gotta say though, and this is something that again, you guys got to read the recap articles I've been writing on Cinemax.com.
They're really good, by the way.
Thank you. But one of the things that I said was, I want you to mark my words. Sony has changed the game again in terms of press conference, because they spent 95% of the time showing us and letting the games do the talking, and 5% of the time talking, like having actual presentations.
Yeah, if the other companies don't learn from this, I'll be very angry.
You know they took notice.
Yeah,
they had to have taken notice. If they buried their head in the sands, then that's
on them.
That's on them.
Yeah. The last thing that we're going to kind of go over was the VR stuff right quick with Sony. They showed Batman Arkham.
Yeah, Arkham VR, which is interesting, and that's something that they've got going on over at E3 right now.
And we're hoping we can play it.
That's one of the ones that I'm like, as soon as 10 a.m. hits tomorrow, I'm going to schedule it as quick as possible.
The next one they showed Final Fantasy 15 VR experience.
That's pretty cool.
On to it was funny that the little trailer they showed for it was better than the one they showed at Microsoft for the actual game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was a terrible trailer for the game. It was like, what was the point?
Well, the guy sucked at playing the game.
But I think he made the game.
And that's the worst part. He was terrible.
So we're going to move on. Well, sorry. I have two more things. Crash.
Yes.
Which is all we know is Crash.
And then Skylanders.
And Skylanders. He'll be in Skylanders. And there'll be a Crash toy. So
that's cool.
That's cool. Spider-Man.
Oh, that's right. Oh my god, I forgot about Spider-Man. Made by Insomniac Games,
which they know how to make superhero.
Yes,
and they know
although
how to make...
I didn't like the white spider logo. That kind of bothered me.
Yeah, but I think it was something different. Like
but it clashed.
I did notice though when I saw some other footage later, when he was moving through the streets and stuff, it was kind of cool looking. Like the blur effect of just seeing it almost looks like there's a spider being left behind. So
yeah, I'd have to watch it again.
But we're excited. We don't know a lot until.
Yeah.
It's definitely not coming out till 2017.
Don't get me wrong. I'm super pumped about it. That's probably the one knock I have.
Sony was definitely the best press conference.
Oh, hands down.
And last but not least, we actually got to play some time with Nintendo. Nintendo's press conference was basically Nintendo and them playing Pokemon for 45 minutes. It almost felt like.
Yeah, the only news that they had was
And
the
I
title
love Pokemon.
for...
I'm the biggest Pokemon fan, but I'm not even going to talk about it today because it doesn't really matter because Pokemon isn't to be watched, it's to be played.
Yes. And the only thing that they even remotely that was newsworthy was the fact that not only did they show much more gameplay and much more content from it, but they also gave us an actual title to Legend of Zelda.
Which, what is it?
Breath of the Wild.
Which sounds cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's not as catchy as Twilight Princess.
Or even Ocarina of Time. Or something.
Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker and stuff like that. But it's got its place.
I keep wanting to say Breath of Fire too, which was another game.
Yeah.
So, we played...
I want to say Breath of the Wind, but it's Breath of the Wild.
We played about, 35 minutes?
Yeah, the demo that we had was 35 minutes. 20 minutes of it was actual storyline, and 15 minutes of it
just running around.
They threw us into the world and
so,
we had to do whatever.
I want to talk about my experience right quick,
sure.
And then you talk about yours.
Cool.
Because we've talked about it already a little bit, and they're different.
Yes.
So I started off, and we had a little guide with us to kind of each one of us to help us if we got in trouble. I didn't realize that we didn't need help at all.
Not at all. But it was cool because the guy I had really good information that I took with it.
Mine did not, but that's okay. That happens. But so I started off, and we all do start off with a campfire.
Yes.
For this demo.
In the first one.
And so I started off, and she's like, "Well, kind of do what you want to do." And I started running around, and the first thing I noticed. And we'd seen it in a trailer or some footage that it looked like there was a jump button, but I wasn't quite sure. So I was playing around with the controls and was like, "Oh, there is a jump."
Yeah,
which is amazing. It's revolutionary that the jump button's there.
That's incredible.
It actually is, especially when you get into fights. You can do the jump slash so much easier.
It's amazing. Now. It's awesome, and then not only that, but the climbing ability.
Oh, that is really nice. It's basically he's almost like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
at certain points.
Because he's, I'm just gonna tell you right now, as like, I'm not a climber at all. I don't do anything like that. But he would die in real life with the way he climbs.
But I ran around, and the first thing you see is some arrows and a bow, and maybe a sword, if I remember right.
Yeah,
and that was amazing. Just it felt good right away.
Like, you already get it.
Yeah,
it's not like you have to wait until like the middle of the game to get the bow.
So I knew exactly what to do, but it felt really good. And the first thing I did was try a charge attack.
Yes.
And cut some grass.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't the typical grass cut, but it's pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean and I know you want to go through yours, but during my gameplay session, I actually chopped down a tree because I wanted to see if I could, and I did. It wasn't with an axe. It was with my traveler's sword. I was just smacking the hell out of it, and then I made a log, and I got lumber.
And then you can use that to craft.
Yes.
And I ran around, and the first thing I saw when I had my bow and arrow was like a boar-looking thing.
Yeah.
And the lady's like, "Okay, it usually takes 2 shots," and I did a headshot, and it was down.
Sure.
But it gave you 2 stakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, so it gives you more value for doing better shots.
Which you can cook that later.
And then you can do that later. And that was awesome. Like, I like the cooking ability, the fact that you can make your own potions, you can make your own stuff.
What's interesting, and this is something that you may not have been told, but the guy who was with me, he explained to me that not everything will work out well. Like,
I did hear that.
If you put in a bad combination, just like in real life, it will cause bad consequences.
I love the cooking. The cooking, it's cooking Zelda.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's amazing.
I want Link to come out at one point and be like, "Ooh, yes, I've been out with my friend Jean-Pierre."
Now, one of the things that one of the things
you just caught the Julia Child
reference. I totally did. I noticed there was audio. I mean actual people talking.
Yes.
At one point.
Oh man, that was so cool.
And then it went.
Open your eyes.
But then it went to, and that part in the story mode, and we'll get to that in a minute, was very Ico, like Shadow of the Colossus Ico type of moment. But
Eric, open your eyes.
Barely.
Wake up.
I'm barely awake. So I mean, it was great. We did a video. It'll be up on Cinelinks. Check it out. We'll talk more about it in depth, and we'll probably try to sneak over there and play some more.
Yeah, I wrote an article recapping my experience already, so it's definitely something that you guys need to check out.
So guys, thank you for listening. Hopefully we'll be a lot more alert on the next episode.
I'm very alert. Bing!
Yeah, I can tell.
You're here.
Yeah, you know what? We have been working, but it has been a blast, and I hope you guys I hope we conveyed that a little bit, that we're actually having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening.
I'm very aroused.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out cinelinks.com for all your nerd news, reviews, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. For all your news, reviews, editorials, and more.
See, I was waiting for you to
keep
say
it on cinelinks.com.
You say that all the time on SCNS. That's why.
And
speaking of SCNS, where can we find you normally?
At SCNS Live.
Okay.
That's really the Twitter. You can check out facebook.com/SCNS Live and youtube.com/SCNS Live. You can follow me, though, personally, on Twitter at Move the Joystick, and Instagram at Move the Joystick, and Snapchat at Move the Joystick.
You check them over.
I did.
Yeah, and you can find me at Fathergamer pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Make sure go ahead and follow us. We are all over the place this year.
We are.
We have been posting tons of new pictures, tons of gameplay stuff. Also follow the Cinelinks YouTube. We're posting there. Like, we're all over the place.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's why we're so freaking tired.
That's exactly what's up.
So,
but yeah, definitely let us know what you want us to find more about, because we will. I mean, why not use this time to have guys who you know are on the floor that will work for you, and get as much information on the games that you want to know more about.
Yes, absolutely. Stay straight on Cinelinks and stay with us. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, achieve it.
A cow.